it's potentially possible to wake up an energy type very quickly. It's very difficult to do so with a projector. It's one of the most fascinating things to understand about the relationship of what I am as a type and what you are as a type. For most of human history, humanity was guided by manifestors. They were guided by manifestors who are 9% of the population. Remember, projectors are 20% of the population. They're the second largest type group. But manifestors are the only type that have the capacity to act independently. And for a very long time, that was a key to the way in which we progressed in terms of our evolution of our civilization. The result of that was that manifestors created the law. That is, they created all kinds of laws, both civil and moral. Laws that say things like you have free will, laws that say things like, it is up to you and you're responsible and you can get it done and so forth and so on. Manifestors lost their power about 220 years ago. About 220 years ago, we had a major change take place. This is a changing of the guard. That is, the future is supposed to be, as far as I know, in the hands of projectors. That projectors are on the ascendancy and have been so since that time. But more than that, to understand that because projectors are on the ascendancy, they have a more difficult time than anybody else as an adult to wake up. I have no problem with projector children coming into the world and they are properly raised, because they won't be conditioned negatively. But for the adult projector, you are the most deeply conditioned people on the planet. You're the most deeply conditioned people on the planet, and that means that the not self, the way that you've lived out your life, the way that you deal with the world, that all of that is something that is embedded in you and is not you. And it's very difficult to get rid of it, and it's very difficult to get rid of it because you need it. You are a non-energy type. It is essential for you always to find a way to either generate or manifest. And that means that you spend your lives, conditioned by generators mostly, and in being conditioned that way, you live off that energy. You survive off that connection. That's neither positive or negative. It's not about you taking and they give. You give back because you become a super slave. This is the fate of projectors. The fate of projectors is that they become super slaves. And they become super slaves to the energy forces around them. They get burnt out, they get exhausted. They end up wondering what it's all about. And they're the busiest people on the planet. They're incredibly busy. I had a young projector friend of mine, a student of mine from America. And he was very much in love with human design and trekked across the ocean to find me when I was living in Ibiza, and came to visit me, and I let him put a tent up on my property. And he was a projector that had no motors defined. He was very open, strong mental definition. And one day I took him down to the beach with me. And the summertime on the island, the beaches are hot, and it's hot. Most people are just lying out there paralyzed. You can barely move, baking in the sun. And here's this projector lying beside me, and every few minutes he would jump up and go running into the sea. And he kept doing that. He kept on jumping up, and he would do things, and he would run around. And at some point I said to him, you're a projector. He could barely go up the mountain that night, and he was exhausted. I didn't see him for about 12 hours later, fortunately for me. Anyway, it's one of the things to recognize about what it is to be a projector. The fact that you don't have your own generating capacity, the fact that you don't have your own manifesting capacity, means that when you do get those things, when you come in contact with them, you don't just take them in, you amplify them. You amplify them. And of course, it's this amplification that's so distorting in your life. It makes you feel like you're something that you're not. And then you become dependent on the thing that you're not. And then you come and see me.